Welcome to the Out of Your Comfort Zone podcast. On this episode, we'll be hearing from 5 of our high school ambassadors abroad who are spending the year studying in high schools in Japan, Spain, and France. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Out of Your Comfort Zone podcast. Today we have a different sort of episode that I'm very excited about. We are talking to 6 of our high school semester abroad students who are ambassadors abroad, meaning that they're tuning in live to this podcast recording from across the world, from their CIEE experiences while still on program. So we've totally managed time zones here. We have people who are staying up late into the night, people who are waking up super early to be talking to us. And we're very excited for this episode. I have Hallie here with me in this episode. Hallie is my amazing coworker and co-host on this episode. Hallie, if you want to just give yourself a quick intro.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I am Hallie. I am the director of this ambassador program, and it's been so great getting to know all of our ambassadors. They have so many exciting stories to tell you that they have been experiencing while on program. And yeah, I think we're ready to kind of do some introductions of our ambassadors. So if you guys want to go around and kind of talk about the location that you decided on, and like what year of high school you're in currently. That would be great. Hazel, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. I'm Hazel, and I'm spending my entire junior year of high school in Toulouse, which is a city in the south of France.
Let's just go down the list. Somebody jump in.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Elena, and I'm in Kyoto, Japan. I'm a second year in American high school and a first year in Japanese high school.
Hi, I'm Mara, and I'm in Seville, Spain for my junior year of high school, though here I'm in what's considered the 4th year of, the school system's a little different, but the 4th year of Cuatro de la ESO. And I'm here for 9 months.
I am also in Seville, Spain for my junior year of high school. And my name is Finley.
I'm Rose, and I'm studying abroad in Toulouse, France, like Hazel, for my sophomore year of high school, and I'm a junior here, considered a junior here.
Awesome. Is that everybody? I think that was everybody. Yes. Okay, great. So, first of all, those of you, there's 2 of you in Toulouse, 2 of you in Seville. Do you guys see each other at all on program? Do you guys get to hang out in person?
Yes, I would say I see Finley during like our big group trips. Like sometimes you'll run into, like I haven't run into Finley yet, but sometimes you'll run into other people from the program just randomly in the city on a weekend. So that's always fun. But I do know her, and she's great. So
awesome.
I could say a similar thing about Hazel and I. We're seeing each other, I think, next week to go to the Christmas market, and she was the first person who I met here on program. So it's really cool, like, being able to spend more time with her.
Yeah, for sure. I would say one of the great things about being on program is that there's really a balance between getting to share our experiences with the other students on program. So for each semester, we have an overnight trip and a day trip where we get to spend a bunch of time together with the other students on program. But then also, we're not always together in school. So there's a good balance of getting to kind of meet all sorts of people who are French and kind of getting to further our language and cultural learning in that way as well.
A good balance, right? Of, letting yourself be immersed and without the crutch of too many American friends too often, right? And really getting immersed into the French culture, but then also having that safety net of maybe having your group of other American students you can go to when you're homesick or you have these group overnight events. So my first question for you guys would be, why did you choose to do a high school abroad program with CIEE? kind of what was your thought process leading up to jumping into this experience?
I guess I can go. So I grew up speaking French with my mom a little bit, and I didn't really know that this was like an option. Like I had heard people talking about it, but then last year, a Spanish girl came to my school, and she and I became really close, and she just inspired me to want to do something of this for myself. And so I found CIEE, and I went on program this year.
For me, I've always been really interested in learning the Spanish language. Like it comes up a lot. Like I live in Iowa, and even then, like when we're in like the middle of nowhere, like it does come up a lot. Like where I work, the cooks back in the kitchen, like they don't speak a lot of English. So I've always kind of learned to like communicate with them with the little bit of Spanish I know. And it was also like always like felt really good to learn a different language, to be able to connect with someone that way. So I was kind of looking for an adventure my junior year. I'd saved up a lot of money from working. So I helped fund my trip, and now I'm here for 9 months. So I think it was definitely the cultural aspect of coming here, and then also learning another language.
What initially sparked my interest is actually when I was younger, I had a babysitter for a year, and she was an exchange student from Spain. And I always remember she told me, she was like, if you ever get the chance, come and visit in Spain or do a study abroad. And she told me that I would, love Spain. And so that was the first thing. And I always think about that. And this year I've gotten back in contact with her and stuff, and like shared how I, because of her, basically decided to go abroad to Spain. And so now I hope to meet up with her sometime this year. But yeah.
Wow.
The language learning was what really drew me to study abroad. I really like learning languages, and like I thought studying abroad was like the coolest thing, but I thought like nobody did it. Nobody in my town that I knew had studied abroad, or we didn't like have any exchange students. And until my godfather was talking about how his kids went to Spain and France during the summer over dinner one time, I looked at my dad and I was like, I could do that, And he was like, you could do that. Mm-hmm. And then we started talking about it more, and we looked into something that it could actually happen for me. We were looking at the summer abroad program, and I was like, Dad, if I really want to learn a language, I could just go for a year. And so we talked about it more, and then I'm here.
But I just wanted to touch on why I chose the CIEE program in particular, because there are a ton of options out there for even high school semester and years abroad. But obviously spending that much time away from your family in another country, and especially at such a young age, is really, it's a risk and it's a leap of faith. And I really wanted to put that into a program that I felt I could trust. And I guess we have our little banner here, but CIEE has been doing this for a very long time, and I haven't heard a single person have a bad experience with one of their programs. And there's so much information available, and there's so much support every step of the way, from when you start your application to when you go on program and even coming back. Just everything is so well thought out and planned. And I think that's one of the reasons why I felt so comfortable, and why my parents felt so comfortable with me doing this program, is because it was with an organization like CIEE.
That's so exciting. That's so nice to hear, right, Hallie?
It's very nice to hear. Glad that you feel trust, because you definitely want to feel trust when you're about to embark on such a crazy adventure for, up to 9 months. So very glad that you feel that way. Okay, cool. I'll get into one of my questions. So I'm curious to know if any of you got any really good advice before you went abroad, or if you didn't get good advice, or you didn't really get advice, what advice would you tell somebody that is interested in studying abroad in the next couple years?
I can go if that's all right. Before I left, I remember I had dinner one night with my good friend, and her dad was eating with us, and we were talking. He asked me some questions because he knew I was going to be studying abroad for 9 months. And I got talking about it, and I was like, I'm just really nervous. Like, I feel like there's just so many unknowns. And he kind of talked to me about his experience because he had actually studied abroad in Ecuador for 11 months. He did a year after he graduated high school. And he said the biggest piece of advice he could give to me is when you go in, try not to have any expectations, which is impossible to do. I've had expectations since I've been here, but he said that when he went to Ecuador for the first few months, he had these kind of preconceived notions of how he wanted things to go, which is normal. Everybody wants to have that amazing, perfect study abroad experience. But he said the truth is it wasn't that way. And the first few months when he still was clinging on to that, what he wanted it to be he didn't have as good of a time. But the minute he kind of let go of those expectations and just live and just try to live day by day and just appreciate everything that's going on and take opportunities, that's when everything got better. So I think that's kind of helped me adjust here and then keep adjusting as things change, just kind of letting loose the expectations and letting the study abroad experience take you where it leads you.
I'd like to second that also, because every person who I've talked to who has studied abroad has said the same thing. Just don't go into it with any crazy expectations, because studying abroad, it's so different for everyone, and it's not going to be exactly what you see everyone talking about. It's going to be your own unique experience, and you're going to be living it how you're going to be living it, not how someone else is.
I would say the advice that I would give somebody, and this is advice that I try to take myself, is to really embrace the awkward. Because in a new country, in a new language, in a new school, in a new family, there are going to be quite inevitably some very awkward moments. But especially when it came to language learning and meeting new people, I found it really, really helpful to let myself be uncomfortable, because you can't grow unless you are willing to put yourself out there to make mistakes in your new language. I thought that was really important. And even on the first day of school or in the first couple weeks, being willing to go up to random people and just start talking to them, that helped a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons that I have managed to feel so settled in, is because I was willing to kind of grow and go beyond my comfort zone in that way.
That's the name of this podcast, is Out of Your Comfort Zone, right? Because that's where all the amazing things happen, right? None of the magical things in life happen inside your comfort zone. They all happen when you're leaving your comfort zone and making yourself feel a little awkward or unsure or uncomfortable.
I have something that really resonates with me that also is like Hazel's. And I really liked Hazel's piece of advice because it reminds me of what my dad tells me. And ever since I was little, he always told me, make as many connections as you can. And that's why he was so willing for me to go study abroad, because he knew that it would open up not just one country, but the whole world to me. Because so many people come and visit Japan, which I'm so grateful for, because not only do I get to meet Japanese people, but I get to meet international travelers that come from everywhere. For example, I was talking to some Australians on the train yesterday while I was on the way to karate practice. And I asked them about their currency because I'd never seen it before. The 50-cent coins are this big, which was crazy. And the day before that, I met some Italians that were on their honeymoon, and I was talking to them about going to an international school. And she was asking me about what it's like back home and how I feel about living in Japan. And not only that, but I've gotten to meet some amazing Japanese people at my school and outside of school. And I'm so happy that I get to participate in clubs that connect me to people, and talking to other people that aren't just Japanese does really open up the whole world. So make as many connections as you can is my advice.
Yeah, I was definitely told, just to lean in and not turn down any opportunities, just try as many new things as I can. And that's definitely what I've been trying to do. And that is what I would recommend to anybody else who's coming to study abroad.
So in these months, all of this amazing advice that you guys got and that you guys are living, and you are such great examples of this, how well you articulate this experience and how clearly you're able to talk about how positive this experience has been for you so far, and you're only halfway through. But in the months leading up, while you're getting this advice, while you're preparing to leave the United States, what did you do to prepare for a year away from home and a year of living in a different culture?
I made sure that all of my friends, all of the people that I knew I was going to miss and I knew I was going to think about when I was in Japan, I made sure to spend time with them. I mean, of course, I think anybody would want to, but I told people, hey, I'm going to be changing my number. So if you want to text me, give me your number, send over your number. Do you have WhatsApp? What kind of social medias do you have that we can use while I'm abroad? So that was something really important that I recommend people do, because if you don't think about that you're going to be changing your number, you might be in a bit of a pickle when you get overseas. And of course, spend time with your friends, spend time with your family.
I agree about, sorry, did I cut you off? I agree about spending time with people. So I had an interesting situation. I came back from sleepaway camp 2 weeks before I left. And so it was kind of hard to be able to see everybody, but I had some really great experiences in my last few weeks. I had a really nice lunch with my grandparents, which I had never really done before. And so it was great because I got to spend some time, quality time with people who I don't always, I kind of take it for granted, but it was really nice. Just being able to be with my family a little bit before I left. And I agree. That's also what I did. I spent time with my friends, my family.
Yep, just like you guys, I definitely tried to prioritize time with friends and family and make sure I saw everybody before I left. And then to mentally prepare, just like somebody else said, I tried to definitely not build up too many expectations or anything in my head of what the year ahead of me would look like.
For me, I think the months leading up to coming here, I got really nervous about the language aspect. Kind of oh my gosh, how am I gonna have a host family in a different language, go to school and take tests and exams and do sports and stuff in a different language. It all felt a little too much, because I'm definitely I didn't come here fluent and I'm not fluent yet. So it was definitely nervous about that. And what really helped me was just focusing on trying to get in at least a little bit of language learning a day, especially if you're going to study abroad in a country that you don't speak the language. I met with a tutor actually from Seville, and we met maybe once a week for an hour, but it was still nice to kind of get that connection. Not only did I get practice learning the language, but I also could ask her oh, what's the city like? What do you recommend doing when you're here? Just getting that connection and really trying to get your language learning to progress a little bit before you come here or wherever you're going is pretty helpful, I would say.
It seems like everyone else has really covered the mental preparation side. From a logistical standpoint, prepare in advance. Don't pack last minute. I had a similar situation to Rose, but I came back from where I am for the summer 3 days before I left. So I did all my packing and everything like that in 3 days. I don't recommend it. It was a lot of laundry. It was a lot of stress, but CIEE has lists of what you should bring. And if you can in advance kind of go through the lists, think about what you're going to need to buy, what you're going to need to just get ready, I would definitely recommend doing that.
On top of CIEE's lists, also the months before I left, I created my own lists in my notes apps. And I was what are things that I know I'm going to want when I'm in Japan? And on top of that, I also created a list. What foods do I want to bring with me? And then another list. What foods do I want to eat before I leave? Those were my really important lists.
What foods did you bring with you?
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Yes. Quintessential American leaving America.
Peanut butter, and then
peanut butter.
Ghirardelli chocolate chips to make pancakes, of course.
Yeah.
I brought, this is another note, but I brought some presents for my host family, which is something that I highly recommend, but kind of classic American things. I'm from Boston, so I brought some Red Sox t-shirts, peanut butter and maple syrup, but the peanut butter was a huge hit. And now my entire French host family eats peanut butter every single day after that. And my family's coming to visit during Christmas, and they're going to bring a bunch of peanut butter. So it's funny the things you don't think about that are so different culturally, even just when it comes to food.
I had the same thing with maple syrup. Everyone told me, "Oh, bring maple syrup," since I'm from Massachusetts. But I thought, like, why would French people like that? And I brought it for my host family, and apparently it's like they love it. Like, they use it for like their crepes, they use it for pancakes, they use it for everything. And we've already gone through the whole bottle, and I have to have my parents bring some more. Crazy.
That's amazing. I love that you guys are telling your host families all about that. That's so fun. That kind of leads me to my next question. I kind of want to hear a little bit more about what the host family experience has been like. Do you guys have your own room? Do you have siblings? Any chores? What is that kind of change been like for you guys?
I love my host family. I am so incredibly happy to have been placed with them. It's a good mix of things that are similar to my family back home. So I have 2 host siblings who live at the house, which is similar to my family back in the States. I would say in terms of chores, I do have my own room. In terms of chores, the idea is really that you become a part of the family. So the expectations for me are pretty much the same as for my host siblings, which is good. And I think kind of not having that separation makes it feel more like I'm a part of the family and less like a guest. And that's helped me be a little bit more integrated.
I have my own room, and I love my host family. They've been great. They're so nice and so funny. And I have one host sister, and she's 2 years younger than me. And chores wise, throughout the weeks and on the daily basis, I do little things and just like unloading and loading the dishwasher and doing my laundry and stuff. But then other than that, usually my family, it's a pretty much a routine on every Sunday is definitely more of a deep clean of the whole house and like mopping all the floors and dusting everything. So Sunday is usually the cleaning day, and I've just folded right into the same rhythm as everybody else.
I would agree. For my family, I don't know, maybe it's like a Spain thing, but we do Sunday too. It's like Sunday's the day to clean my room. Sunday's the day to kind of make sure everything's tidy. Like, let's get all the laundry kind of finished up for the week. So Sunday's the big cleaning day. Otherwise, I do also have my own room. So it's always expected that I keep my room tidy, or if I have things out, I like put them away when I'm going to leave my room, and just general things that you would do in the States too.
I think CIEE does an excellent job of finding homestays for everybody. I haven't heard any complaints from any of my peers, nor do I have any complaints about my host family. I love my host family. I have 2 younger siblings, which is totally new to me. My brother is 4 years older than me and off at college, and I love spending time with them. We go do fun things like go to the aquarium, and I love hiking too, because I love hiking. They've taken me to see some of their relatives that live in Ninja City, where all the ninjas are from in Japan. And it's beautiful. Trees everywhere and mountains, which of course we don't have in Illinois. So I love to go see. And we go for walks together, which is amazing. But something that I think people would like to know, especially when they're going to study abroad, is what happens if you have a problem with your host family. Or not a problem with them directly, but maybe you just want to switch host families for some reason. I love my host family, but it's a little inconvenient for me to commute to some of the places that I need to go. The place that I'm in extracurriculars is an hour and a half away from where I live. And because extracurriculars run so late, I end up getting home really late, or I have to leave early because of curfew. So my host mom and I talked about it, and we figured that if I switched, maybe that would be better. And CIEE totally understood this, and they're like, don't worry, we got you covered. And the homestay agency, which run in Japan, they helped me find a host family that was in an area that was really good for me. And it just worked out really smoothly, and I'll be moving really soon. So no qualms. CIEE did a wonderful job with that.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you got it all figured out. We're happy to help. Awesome. It's great to hear that you guys are definitely connecting with your homestay families as well by being part of the family and joining in. That's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of the relationships that you're making with your host family, what was it like making relationships at school? So now you guys, completely different from a summer program, right? Where our CIEE students are taking classes with other American students. You guys are in Japanese, French, Spanish high schools with Japanese, French, and Spanish classmates, and Japanese, French, and Spanish teachers, right? You are completely immersed in the high school experience of the city that you're studying in. So what has school been like? What has it been like? First, let's start with creating friendships. So how would you say that has gone so far?
For me, I've had kind of a rocky journey just because I have a quite large group of Americans at my school, and I'm in homeroom with one of them, and we spend a lot of time together. And so at the beginning, it was kind of hard to like branch out a little bit, but lately we've been having a great time. Me and this other girl, we've been spending a lot of time with this group of French friends, and it feels like we're like super integrated and they really like us, and we've like joined clubs and stuff. And so I'm still with the other American because we've gotten really close, but we're also like with a group of French kids. And so I feel like for me, that was kind of the perfect balance between like keeping a little bit of like home and like the Americans with me, because I knew I needed something like just with me a little bit. But also branching out, of course, and meeting the people at my school. And I've actually been hanging a lot with my host sisters' friends, which has been really nice since they're really sweet. And they've been super welcoming to me since the beginning.
What clubs have you joined?
So I'm in the Model UN club, which was completely new to me since my school at home does not have that. But they it's very different apparently from in America, but it's so much fun. And I've got a big competition coming up in January that I'm really excited for.
Oh, fingers crossed the luck.
For me, sorry.
Go ahead.
For me, I would say in Spain, it's a little different because there's not really any school clubs. It's not normal to do, like the schools don't have extracurriculars through the school. Like back home, my school will have like tennis teams, basketball teams, like all these different things that you can take part in. But here in Spain, there's not really anything like that. So it's a little harder to make friends through clubs, and it just kind of emphasizes like getting to know people in your classes. And of course, it's always hard. Like, I'm not going to lie, like it's hard to make friends, especially with the language barrier. And I do have an American in some of my classes, and that makes it tough too. But it's really just about kind of like making sure that, okay, you have an American in your class, but try to branch out, try to talk to some other people. Maybe some days don't sit together. But the American I'm having is leaving in next week. So we'll see kind of how things change when I'll be in classes alone. Maybe that'll help me out. We'll see.
I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying as my advice, but you just have to put yourself out there and accept that maybe sometimes it's not going to work out, but you can't create any friendships. You can't meet people unless you're willing to have it be a little bit awkward or uncomfortable. But also you have a built-in conversation starter. So the first week I would fully just go up to people and introduce myself and say that I was an American, or like go up to people and ask if they'd ever been to the States. And maybe those first conversations were awkward, but now those people are my closest friends here. And I'm somebody who likes to talk to a lot of people, and I'm very much a people person in English. But I had to hype myself up a little bit more for French. But I think the thing is, the more confident you are, the easier it is to speak the language, and it kind of creates a cycle. Whereas the second you freeze up and start doubting yourself, it becomes really challenging. So just kind of staying positive, sticking with it, I think that's kind of the key.
I totally agree with Hazel. Putting yourself out there is an amazing way to make friends, and confidence is always key. That's always how it is. And I think my experience is a little bit different, even like with the people in my program, because I go to an international school. So as opposed to everybody only speaking Japanese, a lot of people speak more than 2 languages. And on top of that, my school has an incredible amount of exchange students. And it's not incredible, but at one point we had a group of 14 Thai students, 3 Australians. Right now we have 2 New Zealanders, but there were like 20 exchange students in the school at one time, which was a ton of fun. And when everyone speaks Japanese, you just hear so many things at the same time, and it's so much fun. I love that I've gotten to connect with so many exchange students. We hang out after school. We go sightseeing together. It's amazing. And they also made friends, the exchange students that I made friends with my Japanese friends. Making Japanese friends at first wasn't too big of an issue because my school assigns buddies to us. Like, exchange student, you get a buddy, you're gonna go to your classes with them. And that just worked out perfect. Because when our buddies came to pick us up from the International Center, 5 different girls came down to pick me up. And all of them were so nice. They immediately introduced their names to me. And they were asking me about where I came from, why I was in Japan, and conversation immediately started. And from there, those have been my friends. And I'm so happy to have them. I'm able to ask them questions about Japanese, and they can explain them to me. And then sometimes they'll ask me questions about English, and of course I would love to explain it to them. So there's a lot of language learning going on in my friendships. And we always eat lunch together, and I talk about how I like to cook, and then they show me their lunches, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so good. And we have days planned out. When are we going to go to the cafeteria together? And then we wait in line to get this amazing food at the cafeteria. And then sometimes we go to the school store together, but we always have our lunches planned out. So between the international friends that I've made, I'm so happy to meet them. And sometimes we speak English together, but of course it's a lovely break. And then with my Japanese friends, they're all super people. So they all love to talk to everybody.
I love that. It sounds like all of you guys have really stepped out of your comfort zone, made the friends. So it's awesome to hear about that. And kind of transitioning, I know I've heard about a lot of your guys' favorite memories while abroad, but if you guys kind of want to pick one favorite memory, whether it's like a CIEE excursion you went on, because I know a lot of you did some overnight trips, or if it's just simple hanging out with your host family, what has been your favorite experience studying abroad so far?
Sorry, you can. Okay. I think my favorite experience so far has been I was invited to a birthday party sleepover, which was so exciting to me since it was for my host sister's best friend, and I'd kind of been hanging out with the friend group, but they invited me, and it was just so much fun. I got to get to know the friend group, and we made cookies and stuff, and it was so much fun.
I love that. It's nice to feel included and be able to spend more time with them in a fun setting.
I loved the CIEE trip to Granada. I thought Granada was so beautiful, and that overnight trip was so much fun. I loved all the sightseeing, and it was just Granada. It really made, I mean, I didn't know what Granada was even before coming here or anything, and it was just such a beautiful city. So I loved that. And then right at the beginning when I got here, I hung out with lots of different girls. Like they all go out like a lot in different places in the city. So that was really great. Like lots of experiences there, seeing different things and them showing me the city.
I have two things. It's been so much fun to kind of discover the local activities. And one thing that's really big here in Toulouse is rugby, which I've started playing. And it is so much fun. I love the people I've met. We did a weekend away with the team where we played a ton of games and did sort of team bonding things. So that helped me make 30 new friends. And it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to do something that you're new to and that you're maybe not particularly good at because you know you're doing it because you are enjoying it. But I've had so much fun with that. And then the other thing was here in France, for every 6 or 7 weeks of classes, you get 2 weeks of vacation. So for our fall break, I was lucky enough to go to Corsica with my host family. And obviously it was beautiful. We did a ton of hiking, which was amazing. But also it was great to just get to spend a solid chunk of time with my host family where we didn't have homework. We didn't have a ton of things to stress about. Just good quality time.
My favorite, or one of my favorite memories of being in Japan is spending time with 4 of my friends from my Japanese high school and one other CIEE exchange student that goes to my school. It was our Halloween party, which I had no idea what was going to be like because Halloween parties in the States are so much different from the Halloween parties that apparently are pretty normal here. For starters, most people, or at least most high school students, rather than going to somebody's house after school, stay at school and hang out, which is crazy to me. First of all, because people are so comfortable being at their schools, especially after school and just like hanging out with their friends. But my Halloween party experience started out with Pizza Hut pizza, which I've never had before. But we go downtown to the city like that our school's in. We take a walk and then we go to Pizza Hut. We get the Halloween themed pizza set that Pizza Hut has, which I'm pretty sure America doesn't have, which is a cool little Japanese thing. And then we go back to we go to a grocery store and we pick up a bunch of snacks. Another thing that at least my friends like here are okashi parties, which are snack parties. So rather than just having a normal hangout with your friends, you get a bunch of really good snacks, you bring them back to one place, and then you play music and you eat snacks together, which is excellent. I'm bringing that back to the States with me. So, of course, it's Halloween. We get a bunch of Halloween snacks. We get our Halloween-themed Pizza Hut pizza. We connect to the projector in our classroom, and we're singing karaoke in the classroom after school. And it's wonderful just hanging out with them. We get our costumes on and we take pictures. We have a photo shoot in our classroom, which I think is awesome. And we're just hanging out. It's great.
I would say for me, one of I have a lot of really great experiences and days here, but yesterday actually I went with a friend from my CIEE program who lives in my same town. We went with her host sister and her host sister's girlfriend to view Los Pasos, they call it. It's kind of the street of Seville was kind of full of people watching these I'm not sure what you would call it, but these giant kind of figures that the people are like holding on their backs, walking down the street. And these figures are from churches. So it's like maybe a figurine of Jesus Christ maybe holding a cross or kind of a different saint. And it's very, it happens once every 80 years. So it was super lucky we got to watch it. And it was just like jam-packed full of people, like a really big cultural event. Like these people like with maybe a band following behind playing music, walking these really heavy, big, like kind of shrine figurines down the street. So I watched that yesterday and it was amazing. And then after that, we went with my friend, like I said, and the two other Spaniards, and we went to drive around and ate supper at McDonald's, which is like kind of silly to eat McDonald's in Spain, but it's happened before. It's kind of a taste of home. So it was really fun. We kind of did that. They like explained all about the cultural event we watched and then headed back to my town on a bus. But just little things like that where you kind of get to mix in like getting to know someone and also like getting to know the culture is just always fun.
Maybe I shouldn't be promoting this, but I fully believe that eating in a McDonald's in another country and while you're abroad is part of the experience of being abroad and understanding the differences with the McDonald's and how they're so different from country to country. So I totally support. And McDonald's is so much better outside of the United States, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, like, you haven't had McDonald's until you've had McDonald's in a foreign country.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Yeah, I've been loving trying all the different fast foods. I don't eat that much fast food. There's not even fast foods in my town in the United States, but trying all the different fast food here, that's been a great highlight. And I also went and watched that, and I didn't know that it was once every 8 years. So I'm glad you said that too.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think so if I heard this right, my host, like the people we went with said it was once every 80 years, which is like, to me was insane. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's very rare. So it was like, I'm not sure. I need to like look like why it was like happening, like why only like once every 80 years. But it was, I mean, I'm sure Finley knows it was incredible.
So you all went abroad for, something that you talked about repeatedly was your language skills and to advance your abilities in Spanish or French or Japanese. How do you feel that your language has grown over the past 3 to 4 months? Do you think it's grown over the past 3 to 4 months?
Me personally, I definitely, over one of the Zoom calls with CIEE leading up to this, with kids who had come to Seville in the years past, and they all talked about how they were really confident in their Spanish, and then when they got here, how they like didn't know what they were like, they didn't understand like anything. And I was like, oh, that's great, because I'm not that confident in my Spanish, and I know I'm not going to understand anything when I get there. And that came true, but I've definitely been learning. I've learned so much since being here, and I think just constantly being surrounded in it, I don't even realize how much I'm learning, but I know I've learned so much, and every single day it gets easier. So it'll just continue to get better, and I'm excited to keep learning.
Absolutely. And again, you don't really think about how much you're taking in, but if you're speaking French with your host, French in my case, with your host family, with all your friends at school, all your classes, you're reading, writing, listening, speaking French, it's really exhausting. For the first couple of weeks, I was tired all the time, and I did not know why. And then I thought about how much brain power that was taking. It's one of those things with language learning where you don't see the changes day by day. But now when I look back on where I was 3 months ago, it's much easier. And one place where I see that is in class when teachers talk and I'm expected to take notes, because that was something that was really challenging back in September. And now I have no issues with it.
I would say I've seen that a lot with with the notes. Like I remember our first day, like me and then I had a class with a few other Americans. We were all kind of sitting down in the class, and the teacher was like, okay, we have some new exchange students. We introduced ourselves, and then she just kind of jumped right back into what she was doing. And we had to write down like 50 different questions in our notebooks, but she didn't have it written down. She was telling us like the words, like she was just reading it off to us. And I remember like writing it down, and I was getting maybe like 2 words every question or less. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I had to like copy off of my neighbor. And I would say like now, this just like the listening skills have expanded so much. Like I can speak way better too, but like speaking is still, it's a challenge. I'm sure, as a lot of people know, it's hard. Like you got to think about what you're saying and say it at the same time. But listening, like I've improved so much. Like I can write down, like Hazel said, I can write down what the teacher's saying, and I don't have a lot of issues. So it's getting better. It's slow, but like it's a process, but it does get better.
I think my favorite part about being in an international school is that it's like testing me all the time. Because when I first got there, I look at my homework or I look at whatever printout they give us in class, and I'm like, what is happening right now? But luckily, all my friends were super nice and helped me figure out what was happening in class. But like Mara said, the listening skills, they improve so much, especially when you're in school and you're listening to teachers talk and explain things. It feels so good to catch words. And then as you're here for another week, another month, another 2 months, of course, you're going to notice like, oh my goodness, I can actually understand what my teachers are saying now. And then on top of that, the printouts that they're giving us, hey, I know what this word says. I can read this kanji. And then in my modern Japanese class, we have kanji tests and reading kanji tests every few days or so. So I get to try my best on those, and I get to see my skills improve, hopefully, for that week.
For me, I feel like I was pretty confident in like understanding things and somewhat being able to write things, but speaking was like kind of intimidating for me. But after a few days, like I was already feeling more confident. And right now I'm noticing that I'm like speaking without thinking, which is like been a really big, like, wow, like I'm really happy about that. But also in France, so I'm in a première and they're studying for their baccalaureate in French. And so we do like dissertations like once every few weeks. And at the beginning, that was like so intimidating, so terrifying. And right now I'm feeling pretty good. Like I'm confident. I'm like, I can take this dissertation. I can do it. And that's been really like great to see.
I actually have a question for you guys. I'm really, really curious. I've gotten texts separately from both my dad and my uncle. Have you dreamt in Japanese yet? And I haven't gotten there, but I got to a half dream. One person in one of my dreams was speaking Japanese, and I can't remember it super well. I don't remember my dreams, so I'm going to blame it on that. I'm so curious. Have you guys dreamt in your target languages yet?
Personally, I haven't. I'm waiting for the day. But I remember like maybe a year ago that I remember this specifically because like I had a dream in Spanish, but it wasn't like Spanish. It was like the basic Duolingo phrases that I was learning a year ago, like, oh, like I eat apples, or like I have a suitcase, like that in Spanish, like those basic Duolingo ones. But hopefully I'm going to get to like a Spanish dream at some point during this 9 months. It's impossible for it not to happen, right?
You're going to for sure.
So I'm not actually like a person who really dreams, but lately I've like not like full dreams, but I've noticed like I've kind of like been incorporating like a word or two. Like I'll notice something in French, like it won't be like a phrase or a conversation, but I'll just be like noticing like just things, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I remember one dream that I've had in my entire 3 months here. There's only one that I remember, and it was in French, and it was very confusing, but not because of the French. It was just whenever I remember a dream, it's weird and chaotic and doesn't make any sense after I wake up. So.
Yeah, I don't think I'm at that point with the Spanish dreaming, but like Mara said, I think I've had some like Duolingo moments.
You'll all get there. And it's I studied Portuguese in undergrad and I studied abroad in Portugal. And I remember the first time I dreamt in Portuguese and I jumped from my dream. Like I woke up immediately and was like, guys, I just dreamt in Portuguese. Because it was a nap. I had like fallen asleep doing homework or something. And, like the middle of the day and had to wake up and announce it to everybody. It's very exciting. and you'll all get there for sure. Especially living there by June, for sure. I'm confident. That's so amazing. And it's so amazing that you're seeing that language growth after 3 months, right? And just imagine what it's going to be like in June for you guys. Like Rose said, getting to the point where you're not thinking when you're speaking the language, right? You're not having to think it in English and translate it in your head, right? It's such an amazing feeling. And I feel like you're all on the road there. And it's so exciting. Hallie,
Yeah, no, that is so amazing to hear about all of that. I have a question for all of you since you're all a part of our ambassador program. How has that kind of impacted your experience? Hopefully it's been positive and we've made it a fun ride for you, but kind of just curious on how, if that's impacted your study abroad experience, how it's been to have that kind of as like a little add-on.
For me, I only post on my Instagram, and I kind of see it as like a little diary, like a little photo diary of my time abroad. And my mom's a teacher at my school, and she's getting like feedback from other kids at my school about like how much they love seeing like the pictures abroad. And so that's been like something that keeps like me thinking positively throughout my time here. Like, oh, people are like, they like what I'm doing. They think it's really interesting. And so that's been helping me like keep positive on like days that are a little tough. I'm like, oh, other people like they're interested in what I'm doing, and I think it's really cool.
Yay, I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, not only do I like really enjoy like the posting aspect of it and stuff, but it definitely keeps me more in contact with my family and friends back home, because then I receive more feedback from them and I'm more in touch with like more people than I would be if I wasn't posting as much. So yeah.
I completely agree with that. Like sometimes on days where I'm like, oh, like I really like, I want to call my family, but you know, my mom's working, or like the time difference, it doesn't quite work. Like it's always nice to just be able to kind of like post something and then they can see that. Or like, oh, I get home from school, I'm pretty tired. Like I think I'm going to go to bed early, like in a time I would normally call my parents. Like just having social media so they can kind of like, even if we're not talking all the time, like they can just look and see, you know, like, oh, what's Mara doing? Like what's she up to? Like distant relatives is really helpful too. Like my aunt texted me the other day, like with some like, oh, I hope everything's going well. Like I love seeing your posts. So it's kind of like, you know, people do see it, and it does kind of keep you in touch with people that you wouldn't maybe stay in touch with normally. So I think it's really helpful in that regard.
I would say that being an ambassador has made my time abroad much more meaningful. And I feel like a big part of the program is very self-focused, which is totally fine. But it's been a lot about me and my growth and my learning. And I know that I'm having an amazing time. And I'm so grateful to the people who introduced me to the program in the first place. And I want to be able to be that person for others, to kind of show people what it's like to study abroad, to introduce the idea, and also to be someone who can answer any questions, or just help encourage people to get to have this experience that I'm so lucky to have had.
I think being an ambassador, because you want to share your experience with as many people as you can and make everything as engaging as you can, it really pushes you to take the best photos that you can. Like before coming to Japan, like I love taking photos. I do it all the time, but I realized like those photos, maybe it's just scenery, and like, while that scenery is still nice to me, but I want to see my friends in those pictures. And of course, I'm trying to take as many pictures as I can with the people that I'm hanging out with, because I want to have those memories with me. And now that I get to share them with Instagram or TikTok or wherever I'm posting it, I'm, like someone said, I'm creating a journal not only for myself, but my family gets to see it. And hopefully my friends get to interact with those posts too. And being an ambassador really just stresses that you're capturing what you see in the best way that you can to make it the easiest to see. And it's beautiful just to have those things captured in a video or in a picture, or however you do it.
Thank you guys for all sharing. That's so great to hear. You guys have all been such great leaders and have been taking such amazing content. I know everybody watching your page has been very excited. So it's kind of cool to see it through the lens of you guys. But yeah, just wanted to say great job.
And I definitely wanted to underline what Hazel said, right? Ambassadors, really, you guys probably don't even realize it and how important and how much of an impact what you're doing has. But you really are leaders in this movement that CIEE wants to create and that we're a part of social change, of having more American teenagers study abroad. It's such a small number of American teenagers that study abroad. And so you guys, like I said before, the word pioneer, right? You guys are pioneers and hopefully inspiring so many of your classmates to do the same thing, right? And it's not just about, oh, okay, study abroad to have this wonderful experience for yourself, like Hazel said, but we really believe that the more teenagers that study abroad, the more youth that studies abroad, the better our society will be as a whole, right? There's just like this huge domino effect behind it all. So you guys truly are leaders in this and are doing such a great job in kind of being that change to creating a more open, empathetic American society, right? And culturally aware of the rest of the world. So
I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. No, I was just gonna say, I appreciate you saying that. Like, I feel like right now it's hard for us to really realize like what we're doing is pretty unique and like it is really cool. Like, we're all just a bunch of teenagers living in foreign countries with people we don't know. But like, I think we're gonna look back at this time and be like, wow, we really did that. Like, and exactly. I think society will be a little better for it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Right now, you guys are just, teenagers living high school and awkward high school moments, but just in another country and in a different language, right? And it's magical and you're like having all of these moments of transformation, but I'm sure, you're still facing the same challenges that you would face at home, the same emotions that teenagers face, right? But at the end of the day, or even just like the angst of feeling like frustration with the language, right? I remember feeling a plateau while I was studying abroad and thinking, wow, I'm never going to get to be fluent because you feel this plateau and this frustration, but you're going to get there and it's going to be like a world of difference in your own life, but I think in society as well because of what you guys are doing. So great job. Something that you're really looking forward to in the next 6 months that you haven't done yet.
I can say Japan has some beautiful seasons. I mean, of course, they're known for their nature, but I just got to experience what's called koyo, or the autumn colors, and Kyoto is famous for its koyo. So I went with one of my CIEE friends to a place called Kitano Tenmangu, and there was like a special event for it where you got to walk through this shrine and next to a river and take pictures and look at these Japanese maple trees called momiji that were illuminated by some lights. And it was like right after sunset. So it was beautiful. You had the dark sky and the beautiful red trees. So that's something that I just got to experience. But what I'm really, really, really looking forward to is Sakura season, which comes in April. And my friends have told me, like, the first thing that my teacher said when I got to my school was that there are like 100 sakura trees surrounding our school, which I'm like, that's crazy. I hope my school has that. No one's told me that, but I'm so excited to see the sakura blossoms and go to those events because usually they have sweets accompanying with them. But I'm excited to see those sakura trees in April.
One of the things that I'm most excited for, so I'm a skier. I ski cross country and downhill. And this year for Christmas, my host family, we're going to the Alps and we're going to go skiing. And I'm so excited. Like, I just think it's going to be incredible. Yeah, because my host dad was a ski instructor too. So like, I'm a little scared since like we don't really have mountains like that near me. But I'm just so excited.
What's what you got on the Alps, right?
I'm definitely excited for all of the social things, and just being able to connect more with all the people at school. Because in France, school, the days are very long. I usually leave the house at 7 a.m. and don't get back until 7 p.m. So there's not a whole lot of time to spend with your friends outside of school. But from what I've heard, in the spring, when it starts to be nicer and just in general, there's more time to see your friends outside of school. So I'm really looking forward to that and to being able to explore all the things that this area has to offer.
I know that, I know that Seville is going to start to smell like oranges, and I'm really excited for that because even since when we first got here, I've noticed the orange trees, they've already started getting more orange, and I think, the winter is really short here. So first of all, I'm excited for it to start warming up because winter here is not my cup of tea, but so I'm excited for it to start warming up, and I know along with that, at the I believe end of January, kind of February-ish is when it's going to really start. The whole city is going to start to smell like oranges, and I'm excited to experience that.
That is exactly what I was going to say. I am so excited for the smell of citrus. I love oranges. And you can see the trees now. I think some of them have some oranges, but it doesn't smell, and there's not as many, but hopefully in those months, the orange trees will all kind of be blooming. And I know it's I'm excited to see the photos I've seen of Seville in those seasons is just beautiful. So I'm really excited to see that for myself and smell it too. It's gonna be exciting.
So that was our episode, our first episode with students while on program and doing our semester abroad. So thank you for tuning in to the Out of Your Comfort Zone podcast, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you for listening to Out of Your Comfort Zone. For more information on high school study abroad programs, visit ciee.org/global navigator.